もしあなたが一度でも諦めていたら、きっと二人とも無事に帰れなかっただろう。
Hallway. Under the pale moonlight, hurried and anxious footsteps echo heavily from the stairwell. In the blink of an eye, Vyn arrives at your floor, panting slightly and walking towards you with a grief expression.
そこまでだ。
Vyn is stopped by a cool, sharp voice. He presses his lips together, slowly raises his hands and gestures to you and the knife-wielding assailant holding you hostage, showing that he is unarmed. Trister, run! After struggling to utter those few words, the arm gripping your throat immediately tightens again. Though you are already feeling dizzy from the lack of air, you can clearly feel your heart racing and your temples throbbing with pain. At the same time, you feel the tip of a cold and sharp blade pressing against your cheek.
動くなよ。まさか彼女を助けに来るとは。度胸があるんだな、森月先生。どうやら療養所の連中は利己的な臆病者ばかりじゃないようだ。しかし、これがお互いの完全な姿を見る最後の機会になるだろう。
Physically intact? You feel a sharp pain pierce your neck and a drop of warm liquid rolls down your throat. It instantly turns cold from the wind. Where darkness claims its dominion, the wind bites with venom. The very air itself lives with malicious conspiracies. Vyn slightly lowers his gaze, his eyes filled with coldness.
療養所にどのような誤解を抱いているのかわかりませんが、とにかく彼女は無関係です。彼女を傷つけても何の解決にもなりませんよ。
解決だと
As if hearing something ridiculous, the assailant sneers and spits viciously.
療養所のクズどもめ、これが解決できる話だと思ってるのか。だったら教えてやるよ。この三子城塞で半数近くの人々が貴様らのせいで命を落としたんだぞ。何の解決にもならなくていい。療養所の奴らには一人残らず、その命をもって死んだ連中に償ってもらうんだからな。
Half of the people in the Sanzi fortress died. The assailant's arm clamps down harder on your neck, leaving you struggling to breathe. You feel dizzy and your brain loses focus on the scene before your eyes. Your thoughts muddle as they all start to merge. In a daze, you feel your assailant drawing close to your ear, his hoarse voice rasping a terrifying laugh.
だから、お嬢ちゃん、お前には先に死んでもらう。何、森月先生も連れて行ってやるからな。
Like hell, I will.
まだ強がるのか。無駄口を叩く暇があるなら、とっとと謝罪しろ。謝罪の言葉も考えてやったんだ。療養所で働く私たちは畜生ですってな。
The assailant loosens his grip on your arm and raises his knife. At that moment, a bone-chilling voice roars viciously from behind you.
死ね!
As the cold light of the blade flashes past your eyes, you hear Vyn's growl sound from a distance. Sanzi Fortress BNB. Several hours ago at the Sanzi Fortress BNB. Shortly after the earthquake, the incident on the Zinjiga Island was temporarily resolved and everything on the island slowly returned to normal. The coming of age gift that the swart aristocrat Campbell left for his granddaughter Cecily is finally located. Since the gift was last seen at the black market called Sanzi Fortress in the lower district, you and Vin have decided to come here together. Or at least that was the original reason why you ended up here.
つまり彼キャンベルさんの遺品は本当にサンシー城塞の闇市にあったんだね。わかった。売り手の情報をもう一度確認して何かあればすぐに知らせてほしい。
By the time Ving hangs up, you've confirmed all the latest clues about the sanatorium, ready to exchange and organize the intel with him. Did you get any news from Ogier, Dr. Richter?
彼が用意した成人の儀式の贈り物は確かに闇市に出回っているらしい。
You have reviewed all of the sanatorium's recent surveillance footage. When Campbell's body was being moved, there was someone wearing a mortician's outfit and a mouse who took something from beside his pillow. So, it's just as we suspected. This precious jewelry meant as a gift was stolen by someone who then sold it on the black market. So next, we just need to catch the thief and retrieve the jewelry, and that should solve the problem, right?
そういうことになるね。
With the details neatly sorted out, Vin calmly takes a sip of his hot tea. Then he takes out his tablet from the bag at his feet and begins recording information. Looking at the fully packed black bag, you sit down next to Vin in slight curiosity. He has always been open with you, so you can clearly see what's inside the bag. It not only contains self-defense items, but also includes extra communicators. Moreover, this time we specifically checked the surveillance and came to Sanzi for stress. The planning and preparation Vin put into this trip far exceeds what's needed to help a girl find a gift.
何か気になることでもあるのかい？僕をじっと見ているようだけれど。
Not really. I just wanted to ask if you specifically brought me here because there's something else you need to do.
どうして？
Vin appears to have anticipated your doubts as he doesn't seem surprised by your question. Instead, he places a cup of hot tea beside you, then casually leans against the cabinet door, gesturing with interest for you to speak. Searching for a gift is a simple enough task that can be left to international security officers. In any case, there should be something important that requires the use of those devices, right? Vin's gaze falls to the bag you're pointing at. Then he chuckles and gives you a meaningful look.
どうやらあなたには僕が子供の贈り物に熱中するタイプには見えないようだね。
What? No, that's not what I meant. You're always kind-hearted. I just think that you usually have expectations for how most situations will develop. You don't over-prepare, and it's rare for you to be underprepared. Although this explanation sounds a bit forced, the smiles in Vin's eyes softens.
つまり僕の計画力に信頼を置いているんだね。
That's a fact.
ありがとう。そう言ってもらえるのは嬉しいよ。でも、
Oh, I'm not saying you're not kind-hearted. It's just that I think you usually consider more aspects of a situation before making a decision.
より広い視野。
Like personal preferences or directions that affect the bigger picture.
あなたからはより理性的に対局を見据えて判断しているように見えていたのかい？
You nod and Vin smiles gently.
褒めてくれてありがと そうだな。僕は自分の立場を見失わずに目標を達成できる道を選ぶことにしているんだ。すべての選択で回り道をしないように。
Detours?
回り道をすると余計な手間が増えて問題を起こすことになる。最悪の場合、本来の目標を誤解したり疑ったりしてしまうかもしれないだろ。幸いなことに、あなたは鋭い。調査を手伝ってもらうと決めた僕の選択は正しかったようだ。
The choice to let me join? Dr. Richard, you mean? Vyn doesn't rush to explain, he simply unlocks his tablet and places it in front of you. The screen shows a list of medications, but when you see the title of the list, your eyes widen in surprise. Is this a list of missing medications from the sanatorium? Has the sanatorium lost medications?
そう。療養所の薬品はどれも慎重な扱いが求められるから。薬品が悪用される前に一刻も早く行方を突き止めたいし、訴訟の準備もしないとならない。これが僕の本当の目的だよ。
Vyn quietly moves beside you, leans close to your ear, and looks at the list with you, scrolling through the screen while explaining.
実は来島する前から療養所では貴重な薬品が大量に紛失していてね。それなのに院長は犯人を見つけられず、転売ルートもつかめなかった。
So, there were no clues in the surveillance footage and entry records either.
うん。見たところ、犯人は療養所の構造に非常に詳しい人物だと思う。少なくとも監視カメラの死角を把握しているし、痕跡を残さない術を身につけている。
In other words, there's a high chance that it's an inside job. But as to where this thief is now, you think back to what Vyn said before about how he usually avoids detours when making choices. If his ultimate goal is to track down the medications, and he also happens to stumble upon that jewelry while searching for them, an idea flashes through your mind. You turn around to meet Vyn's eyes. Is it because the lost jewelry from the sanatorium appeared in Sanzi Fortress black market? Do you suspect the black market is a channel for selling stolen items?
その通り。しかも、この闇市で広大から流れてきた他の物資も、王子が見つけてくれてね。それで、実際に行って調べようと思ったんだ。何か手がかりが見つかるかもしれない。
I see. Should we head back to the black market right away then? Time is of the... Before you can finish, a knock on the door interrupts you. You share a glance with Vyn, coming to a silent consensus. That was an uninvited guest. Another knock at the door echoes. Vyn makes a quick gesture and you immediately catch on. As you put away the documents on the table, Vyn walks to the door and unlocks it, pulling it open.
こんにちは。何かご用ですか？
The expressionless owner of the B&B stands outside. Though not old, he has somewhat of a hunchback. Holding two candles stiffly in his hand, he faces Vyn with his cloudy eyes.
いや、特にはないですが、今夜は停電しますので、ろうそくをお持ちしたんですよ。
ご主人、今夜は何かあるんですか？ここに来る前に停電の知らせはなかったと思いますが。
今日はね、地元の祭りで儀式を行うんです。城塞の住民総出で参加するものでして。お二人はよそからいらしたでしょ？一応言っとこうかと思ったんです。それでは、よければろうそくをお使いください。
As he speaks, he suddenly stops, his yellowed eyes darting back and forth between you and Vyn. There isn't any wind blowing, yet somehow being stared at by that gaze makes you feel a chill down your spine. You can't help but frown. Before you can ask again, the owner's hoarse voice rings out once more.
今晩は外に出る予定はないんですよね。
まだ決めていません。他に何かご用件は？そろそろ休もうと思っていまして。
According to the original plan, you will be heading to the black market shortly to investigate. Obviously, Vyn doesn't want to reveal too much to the suspicious owner. Without responding, he gives you two another strange look before turning away and muttering to himself as he leaves.
城塞の裏には集団墓地がありますからね。儀式の最中は出歩かない方がいいでしょう。気をつけないと何に出くわしますやら。
After the owner completely disappears at the stairway, you and Vyn exchange bewildered looks. Why does he sound so weird?
確かに妙だ。サンシー城塞のことは詳しく調べていないけれど、王子が長い間調査していたから何か知っているかもしれない。
With that, Vyn walks to the room to get his phone to contact Ocher. Just as you're about to follow him, you receive a call from Cecily.
もしもし、弁護士さんですか？
Yes, it's me. What is it, Cecily?
私の贈り物を探しにわざわざ下町に行ってくださったと伺って、本当に何とお礼を言ったらいいでしょうか。
It's okay. After all, your coming of age ceremony wouldn't be complete without the gifts from your elders, right?
あなたの心遣いに感謝を。結果はどうあれ、成人の儀式が終わりましたら改めてお礼をさせてください。ですが本当に気をつけてくださいね。サンシー城塞にあったなんて。たとえ贈り物を取り返せなくても構いませんので。
What's wrong with Sansi Fortress?
私も詳しくは知らないのですが、そちらの城塞は療養所の方々にかなりの悪意を抱かれているとか。とにかくくれぐれも用心して。
Suddenly, before Cecily can finish speaking, all the lights in the building go out at once. Even the call is reduced to intermittent static, and soon it gets disconnected. A power outage? No, even the signals are being blocked. Before you can react, a series of hurried knocks sound at the door. You're so startled that you nearly stumble, and for a moment, you're completely bewildered. The tourist? Vyn, where are you? Murmuring to yourself, you decide to ignore the constant knocks on the door and find Vyn first. Just as you turn around, a huge hand suddenly comes from behind, clamping over your mouth. The hands are so strong that you can't break free. Before you can cry out, he pulls you into a cubicle beside the room. B&B restroom. You can't see anything in the pitch black room, but your other senses are amplified. Especially the sound of the hasty footsteps behind you. Every step made seems to grind on your very nose. Only when you get to the sink in the restroom do the hands covering your mouth and nose finally loosen. Dr. Richter?
Shh.
Under the red emergency light, Vyn's face appears before your eyes. He makes a shushing gesture, signaling for you to listen carefully to the sounds outside the B&B. Someone has been knocking on the door for over 10 seconds, and it just turned into violent banging.
おい、 中にいるんだな。本当に療養所から来た奴らなんだろうな、じじい。見間違えていたら承知しないぞ。
間違いないとも。さっき確認したんだ。あの二人は療養所の人間だって千鳥さんも分かってたじゃないか。
The B&B owner? You quickly exchange a look with Vyn, instantly understanding the owner's true intentions. They deliberately cut the power. He brought the candles here just to confirm your whereabouts. Seeing your surprised and suspicious expression, Vyn gently shakes his head, signaling you to hold your doubts for now and continue listening to their conversation. However, when the two people outside receive no response, they simply choose a more direct approach.
くそ、鍵がかかってる。お前、ここで見張ってろ。俺は道具を取りに行く。
分かった。城塞の出口は千鳥さんが全部塞いでるだろうし、今ならみんな中庭にいる。今日こそ私らの家族を応死させた罪を命で償ってもらわねばな。
As hurried footsteps fade, the corridor returns to silence, but this is just the final calm before the storm.
三 C 城塞、療養所、薬品の闇市、それから
The unjust deaths of the people of the fortress, this makes things much more complicated. You thought the conflict between the sanatorium and the fortress was simply about the drug theft case and the channels for selling stolen goods. You never expected to get involved in a death-related conflict and a sudden assault.
療養所も新翼会も彼らの話していたことについて何の情報もつかんでいないようだけれど。
But Cecily just called and said that everyone outside already knows that the fortress is plotting its revenge against the sanatorium. It's just that we still don't know why.
また謎が増えたようだね。だけど、謎を解く前に脱出方法を考えないと。
With that said, Vyn hurries back to the room. When he returns, he is holding 2 candles and matches, as well as the bag containing his equipment. He places the lit candles on the restroom windowsill, then takes out a small round mirror from his equipment bag, using it to reflect the candlelight to specific angles. Since you are staying in a room at the end of the building, the window faces an empty lot. Vyn pushes the window wide open and carefully examines the situation outside. Outside the city area, the night is pitch black and foggy. But in the moonlight, you can vaguely see that not far from the window lies the mass-forgotten graveyard the B&B owner had mentioned earlier. Maybe we can find a spot over there with signal.
集団墓地に出入りすることに抵抗は？
Well, if we don't figure out a way to escape, we might end up being buried there. While you sadly describing the reality of your situation, Vyn chuckles slightly.
あなたは勇気があるね。とはいえ、今は城塞の4階にいるから、下に降りるにはロープが必要だろう。
Is there no rope in that bag?
ロープを持たないと決めたとき、僕は襲撃されるという回り道を想定していなかったようだ。
That's true, but if it's a rope we're looking for... You quickly look around and notice the towels and bath towels lying about. Can we use those? If we add the bedsheets too, we should be able to make quite a long rope.
タオルをロープ状につなげるんだね。
After thinking for a moment, Vyn nods.
いい考えだ。あなたは洗面所のタオルを全部集めてきて。僕はベッドのシーツを持ってくるから。
Okay. Having settled on a plan, you two split up. You don't have much time, so you quickly gather all the available bath towels, shower curtains, and towels from the bathroom, trying tying them together with secure knots one by one. Soon after, Vyn comes over with the bed sheets and joins you. Just as you finish tying a rope long enough to reach below the second floor, the sound of pounding and splintering wood echoes from the door once again. They're back already?
間に合わない。あなたは先に降りて。早く。
With no time for discussion or fear, you immediately follow Vyn's instructions, grabbing the rope and swinging yourself outside the window. A gust of night wind blows past, howling with an eerie chill.
どうかな。ちゃんと掴めるかい。
Don't worry, I'm fine. This climb is different from anything you've ever done before. There are no safety measures and you have to stay ahead of the attackers. It would be a lie to say you aren't scared at all. But when you see Vyn reach out through the ventilation window to hold your arm, the warmth from his palm brings you some comfort.
それならよかった。
Huh? The tourister, you! You tighten your hands on the rope only to see Vyn smiles at you. Then he unexpectedly releases his grip on your wrist and gently inserts a point-to-point signal blocking the recorder earpiece into your ear. As he withdraws his hand, you seem to understand something and instinctively ask him in a low voice. What are you doing, Dr. Richter?
彼らがここにやってくる。ロープの耐荷重には限界があるから、順番に脱出する時間はないだろう。町の人々は中庭で祭りを行うと言っていたから、他の場所にはほとんど人がいないはずだ。下に降りたら誰もいない場所を探して、脱出方法を見つけたら助けを呼ぶといい。
But what about you? They're about to come in and you're all alone.
大丈夫。なんとかするから。
Vyn bites his lip and gently holds your hand that is gripping the rope. The commotion outside the door grows louder and louder, even with the hinges locked. The door sounds like it wouldn't hold much longer. Even at this critical moment, Vyn's movements remain gentle and tender, as if he's trying to use the last bit of time to comfort you.
前にも言ったけれど、僕は遠回りな選択をしたくない。目標から遠ざかって道を外れてしまうからね。もしあなたがここで傷ついたら、本当に道を外れることになって、全てが無意味になるだろう。だから、今度も僕を信じて、今すぐここを出て、電波の届くところまで行ったら、保安官に助けを求めるんだ。あなたが保安官を連れてくるまで必ず耐え抜くから。
Dr. Richter? Time is running out, so you quickly nod. Vyn finally lets go of your hand.
気をつけて。
As soon as he finishes speaking, a terrifying sound comes from the room. The moment the door is broken down, Vyn closes the window. Dr. Richter, Vyn. You grit your teeth and try to compose yourself. Although Vyn said that if you were to get hurt, it would truly lead him down the wrong path. But the same goes for you too. I need to get help quickly and bring the sheriff here. Climbing down the tower rope as quickly as you can, you reach the bottom and climb through a window on the second floor. Second floor room. Unlike the B&B room, this room lacks decor since it isn't up for rent and appears to have been left untouched for quite some time. However, on the table in the middle of the room, there are steaming hot dishes and rice. It doesn't look like anyone is living here, but someone has prepared a meal as if waiting for guests to arrive. Does someone actually live here? The room is poorly lit with no signs of else's presence. You check your phone, but there is still no signal. After thinking for a while, you decide to stick to the original plan and find a place with a signal to call for help. After confirming once again that there is no message from Vyn through the communication earpiece, you feel your way toward the door. After a few steps, you accidentally bump into a bench near the dining table. Ouch! Following the impact, porcelain bowls and plates start clattering on the table, and even a couple of grains of rice bounce out of the bowls and shatter. Wait, shattering? You can't see clearly due to the dim environment, so you squint as you inch closer for a look. Before you can make out anything clearly, what first reaches you is the smell of incense smoke. Is this incense ash? What you thought was steam rising from hot dishes turns out to be white smoke from incense sticks burning in the rice. This room, this dining table, was definitely set up in wait for someone. Second floor room. The weather in Jigga Island is still warm at this time, but the scene in this room sends a chill down your spine. What's going on? Is this also part of the ceremony? You stiffly glance around, and fortunately, nothing bizarre appears. However, you hear the low whistle of wind coming from the window you had just climbed through. And finally, you snap out of your daze because of this sound. It's been quiet upstairs. Did Dr. Ristra manage to successfully hide? I need to find a way to call for help quickly. While worrying about Vyn, you bite your lip, rub the spot that had collided with the corner of the bench, and then feel your way to the door in the dark. Just as you grab the doorknob, you suddenly hear the footsteps of several people outside, and it seems like they are having a hurried conversation. Could it be Dr. Richter? You quickly crouch down by the door and listen intently.
この役立たずどもが二人がかりで追って逃がしたらと。急いで1階から順番に探せ。療養所に戻られる前に見つけないと俺たち全員どうなるか分かってるだろうな。
Dr. Richter escape? Before you can breathe a sigh of relief, you hear a rustling sound coming from your earpiece. You hurriedly hide deeper into the room, pressing onto the earpiece and whispering. Dr. Richter, are you alright? After another rustle, you finally hear Vyn's voice. He sounds slightly out of breath.
大丈夫だ。聞いてくれるかい？彼らはみんな武器を持っていて、容赦なく攻撃してくる。だから絶対に見つからないように気をつけて。
What? Are you hurt?
怪我はないよ。かなりの人数で僕たちを探しているけれど、王子が駆けつけたから無事だ。
Oje came? If Oje had arrived in time, then that would have taken a lot of pressure off Vyn. But from his voice through the earpiece, he sounds like he just escaped, but at the same time, it's as if he's still at the center of the storm. From his voice and tone, the scenario in the B&B slowly takes shape in your mind. Like you, he must have been pressing down on his earpiece, speaking in a low, hushed voice.
あなたはどう？無事に脱出できたのかい？
Not yet. I just climbed into a room on the second floor. I haven't had the chance to get out. In the brief silence, you hear another rustle coming from the earpiece. Suddenly, you seem to hear footsteps coming closer, which are soon replaced by some kind of muffled groan. Dr. Richter, are you alright? Is there someone else there with you? Vyn sounds way more serious when he speaks again. Maybe he ran into some thugs?
王子が対処してくれたはずだけれど、今の状況は想像以上に深刻だ。
In the old dilapidated room, only a blood red emergency light tube flickers with crackling sparks. Shards of glass continue to fall from the broken mirror with a tinkling sound. Whether it's the truth or the current situation, everything is like the scene reflected in a shattered mirror, confusing and dangerous. Vyn turns his head, coldly staring at the sweet sweat glistening on his temple in the mirror.
療養所から盗まれた薬品は僕たちが望まぬ結果を招いたらしい。
Consequences. Recalling what the B&B owner said about the unjust death of those residents, your eyes widen in shock, the pupils shrinking. Could it be that the unjust deaths of the residents were caused by those medications?
少なくとも城塞の住民はそう思っている。だから彼らは療養所に報復するために考えも行動も極端になっているんだ。とにかく王子が資料をまとめ終えたようだから、あなたは2階の部屋に隠れていて、すぐに向かうから。
Okay, I got it. The line is cut. He's probably making his way here. Thankfully, Vyn seems out of danger for now. You breathe a sigh of relief and, following his instructions, go back into the room to find a hiding spot. However, the conversation you had with him over the communicator still raises doubts in your mind. Are the stolen medications really related to the death of the residents of the fortress? Was it not brought there just to be sold? Huh? As you return to the room, you pass by the dining table again. This time, you notice something you missed when you left in a hurry. Behind the cold dishes are 2 memorial tablets and 2 memorial tags. These memorial tablets are for Gao Yueying and Zhao Xiaoli. They died on the same day. You suddenly feel that something is off, and you quickly pick up the 2 memorial tags meant to be burned. Loving mother Gao Yueying passed away unnaturally due to illness on February 12, 2029. Beloved daughter of Zhao Xiaoli passed away unnaturally due to illness on February 12, 2029. They both passed away unnaturally due to illness on the same day. It wouldn't be directly related to the stolen medications if they died from illness, but you find the word unnaturally in the memorial text quite suspicious. Conversely, if Vyn has already received definitive information, then this memorial text can verify that information. Could it be that the stolen drugs didn't make it to the black market after all, but were misused by the residents here? As you're lost in thought, a sudden burst of footsteps echoes at the door. They seem to have searched their way here. You hurriedly put down the memorial text and return everything you touch back in place. Just as the person outside is about to come in, you barely manage to squeeze yourself into an empty wardrobe.
ここにもいないか。くそ、この建物はもう全部探したぞ。千鳥さん、あいつら一体どこ行ったんだ。知るか。俺の方が聞きたいくらいだ。
Phew, that was close. I don't think I give anything away. Wait, Mr. Zhao? You recall what was written on the memorial tablet you just saw. Beloved daughter Zhao Xiaoli. Plus, earlier, the B&B owner seems to refer to the person who was investigating you and Bin as Mr. Zhao too. Could Mr. Zhao be the manager of the fortress? Thankfully, they haven't spotted you. They linger for a while before getting ready to search the other floors. Relief floods you as their footsteps fade. You quietly push open the crack in the wardrobe, confirming the situation in the room. Everything remains the same. Suddenly, a light tube crackles from a corner, and the dim light on the ceiling flickers for a moment. When the lights come back on, a sinister and terrifying smile suddenly appears through the crack of the door, looking straight at you.
やはりここにいたか。
What? Startled, you nearly fall over. In an instant, the wardrobe door flies wide open, and a middle-aged man with a sinister face stands before you, his lips curling into a bone-chilling smile.
母さんと娘のお供え物をお前が触ったせいで線香の灰が散ってしまったんだぞ。ほら、二人に謝ったらどうだ。
Hallway. He forcefully drags you out of the wardrobe, twists your arm behind your back, and shoves you out of the door. The other middle-aged man from the earlier conversation is also waiting outside.
なんだ、クローゼットに隠れていたのか。千鳥さん、なかなか目が利くな。
The pain from your shoulder is so intense that you can't straighten up. You struggle to raise your head and glare at the two thugs. What do you want from me?
何を企んでるって？俺たちについて気にする暇があるなら、もっと自分の身を心配しな。お前と一緒にいたあの医者が助けに来るとでも思ってるのか？あいつなんかとっくに逃げたに決まってるだろうが。
So Dr. Richter managed to escape? You subconsciously breathe a sigh of relief. You can finally stop constantly worrying over his safety. Noticing your reaction, the middle-aged man speaks again jestingly.
へえ、いつまでそんなのんきでいられるか見ものだな。まさか本気で逃げ切れると思ってるのか？
I don't know what you're talking about.
今さら知らないふりをしても遅い。すぐにわかる。
Before he can finish speaking, a whooshing sound bursts through the air as a palm-sized stone flies out from nowhere, accurately hitting his neck. With a muffled groan, the man collapses to the ground. This immediately makes Mr. Zhao becomes vigilant. He quickly pins your neck with his elbow and looks around.
誰だ。
In the midst of confusion, a figure emerges from the stairwell, approaching you with a slight pant. Mr. Zhao turns toward the approaching figure and coldly comes to a halt. Don't come any closer, Dr. Richter. Otherwise, you'll fall right into their trap. However, Vyn only presses his lips together and slowly raises both hands, showing Mr. Zhao that he is unarmed.
動くなよ。まさか彼女を助けに来るとは。度胸があるんだな、森月先生。
Mr. Zhao tightens his grip on your neck as if to show his control of the situation. Fighting against your dizziness, you try to break free, gaining just enough space to observe Vyn's eyes and movements. Vyn is already here, so Ogier must be nearby too. Perhaps they are waiting for the right moment to turn the tide. If that middle-aged man was knocked out by Ogier, then they must be looking for a way to deal with the other person now. But I can't see clearly, and the ringing in my ears is getting worse. While you are dazed, Vyn and Mr. Zhao seem to be negotiating in front of you, but you can only catch a few words.
さあ、選んでください。あなた方の選択がこの事件の結末を決めることになるでしょう。
バカを言うな。 お前たち貴族やここに住んでる連中は守られているだろうが、俺たち部外者は最初から飢餓で死に、病気で死に、毒で死ぬ運命なんだ。療養所に騙されて訴える場所もない。
訴える場所はあります。しかし今のやり方ではいけない。問題が解決しません。このままでは泥沼にはまる一方です。もし本当のことを打ち明けてくださるなら解決する道を示しましょう。さもないと事態はさらに悪化しますよ。
Mrs. Zhao turns a deaf ear to Vyn's words and retorts rudely. Yet your mind hazily drifts to your conversation from not too long ago. But thankfully, you are still as perceptive as ever. Please choose to believe me. And if either of you get hurt, everything you've done for each other would be meaningless. You force your eyes open and, through your blurry vision, see Vyn slowly lowering his raised hands. This is the signal, the moment you've been waiting for. Dr. Richter. You chose to believe him.
お前には先に死んでもらう。何、森月先生も連れて行ってやるからな。
Like hell I will.
まだ強がるのか。無駄口を叩く暇があるならとっとと謝罪しろ。謝罪の言葉も考えてやったんだ。療養所で働く私たちは畜生ですってな。
The assailant loosens his grip on your arm and raises his knife.
死ね。
As the cold light of the blade flashes past your eyes, you hear Vyn growl some from a distance. But at this very moment, you suddenly muster all your remaining strength and manage to break free from his elbow just a little. Mr. Zhao doesn't see it coming. As he lunges for you again, he accidentally leaves himself open. Ogier, who has been lurking in the shadows behind him, suddenly rushes forward and pins him to the ground.
大丈夫だったかい？
As you nearly fall, Vyn catches you in his arms, supporting your back while anxiously checking on your condition. Hey, I'm fine.
本当に
The hand supporting your back trembles slightly, and you can't tell whether it's from nervousness or relief. After holding back for a moment, he finally utters a few words softly.
無事でよかった。
Top floor empty room. With Ogier's help, you move Mr. Zhao to an empty room on the top floor and stop for a quick rest. At this moment, Vyn is frowning as he applies a hemostatic patch to your neck. Ouch.
じっとしていて無茶なことをするからだろう。
Vyn looks away, seemingly displeased. You gently touch the spot where his touch had been and ask carefully. Vyn, are you angry?
まさか。
But he clearly is. Taking in your doubtful look, Vyn sighs as he eases up. He gently lifts your chin and looks at the marks on your neck.
千鳥さんに捕まった時、自分のことはいいから来ないでと言っていたね。
Huh? You heard that? Is that what you're mad about?
怒ってないよ。ただ、自分の選択を後悔しているだけだ。
Vyn applies some ointment to the wound, and the cool sensation of the medicine eases most of the pain. After treating all of your wounds, he puts down the medicine and medical instruments, but still keeps his head down as he speaks softly.
王子には前から外で手がかりを集めてもらっていたんだ。相応の時間をかけてね。城塞が封鎖された後、彼は当然入れなかったし、民宿の電波も切断されていた。だから、もしもの時にと話し合った通り、窓辺に2本のろうそくと鏡を置いて、彼に信号を送ったんだよ。
So that's what those two candles were for. But you're right, this signal should be easy to spot at night.
とはいえ、いつ来るかはわからなかったから、あなたには先に離れてもらった。幸い、王女はすぐに来てくれてね。最初に部屋に来た2人を気絶させた後は、手分けをしてあなたを探していた。もし彼が来なかったとしても、2人で捕まることはないと思ったんだ。スウォルト出身の僕は目立つから。僕が残って彼らの注意を引けば、あなたは逃げやすいだろう。まさか、より危険な場所に送り込むことになるとは。怪我までさせてしまって。
Wait, Dr. Richter? You immediately sit up straight and start refuting him. You said earlier that if I got hurt, everything you did would be meaningless. Well, the same goes for me. Had I left you there, Aspid, even if I managed to escape safely, it would be meaningless to me.
僕を心配しているのかい？
Yes, of course I worried about you. Vyn is at a loss for words, not expecting you to be so straightforward about your feelings. After a moment, he looks away. You notice that the fair skin behind his ears seems to be tinged with a slight red.
わかったよ。
He puts away the medicine and bandages before turning to you again, gently holding your hand.
これから、城塞を出るまで約束する。決してお互いを見捨てない。そして、お互いに心配をかけないようにすると。
Eh? Why are we suddenly doing something like this?
さっきも言ったと思うけれど、千鳥さんに捕まった時の、あの絶望的な目をもう見たくない。あなたが傷ついたら、僕のしたことは全て無意味になると言ったけど、綺麗事でも何でもないんだ。あれほど苦しみながらも、僕を心配して、命を懸けて僕を安全に逃がそうとする目を見て、道を踏み外してしまうかもしれない、と思った。
Dr. Richter. After a pause, you slowly reach your hand towards his shoulder. You hesitate for a moment before grasping his coat. You feel the warmth of his body through his clothes, steady and reassuring against your palm. And something deeper, an unspoken tenderness. Alright, I promise. But I don't think it should end after we leave the fortress. From now on, we must keep this promise as long as we are working together in the future as well.
これから先か。そんな未来のことまで考えられないな。
It's bound to happen one day, and when it does, you must keep this promise. Vin smiles, but before he can speak, Oja suddenly bursts through the door of the empty room.
坊ちゃん、お望み通り細文をすべて集めてきました。弁護士さんと。
Sensing Vin's subtle gaze, Oja stops mid-sentence. However, Vin doesn't say much more. After a brief silence, he takes the stack of papers from Ogier and moves to look through them.
わかった。確認するよ。さっき、千鳥さんの家の裁門に気がかりな点があったと聞いたけれど。
Yes, Mrs. Zhao's mother and daughter passed away from illness on the same day, and today is their memorial service. Plus, you said earlier through the earpiece that those missing medications were connected to the resident's death. I wonder if this memorial text could also support it. Vyn flips through several texts in succession, nods thoughtfully, and then looks toward Ogier.
サンシー城塞の背景について調査結果は？
はい、坊ちゃん。三市城塞の裏には集団墓地があり、住民の多くは総裁関連の仕事に従事しております。厳かな儀式もよく行われるそうで。ですが、数年前に集団死の事件が起きてからは、事件の発生した日に合わせて毎年の祭祀が行われるようになったと。
やはり鍵はこの集団的な病死にあるのか。どうやら彼に話してもらうしかなさそうだね。
As soon as he sees that, Ogier knowingly walks to the door and brings in Mrs. Zhao, who is now bound and gagged. Unable to struggle, Mrs. Zhao can only fiercely glare at you two. After Ogier leaves the room and closes the door, Vyn steps forward to remove the cloth gagging Mrs. Zhao's mouth.
くそ、なかなかやるな。城塞を封鎖したのに外部から助けを呼ぶとは。だが言っておくが、俺を閉じ込めてどれだけ時間が経った。主宰様は絶対怪しんでおられるぞ。あの方が人を連れて一回ずつ探しに来たら、見つかるのは時間の問題だ。俺から話すことなどない。笑わせるな。
Head priest.
おそらくこの城塞の管理者もしくは責任者だろうね。
After casually explaining it, Vyn calmly gazes at Mrs. Zhao, completely unfazed by his threat.
おっしゃることはよくわかりました。あなたが白状するかどうかは実はどうでもいいのです。すでに王子が国際保安官に通報しましたから。あなたはご存じないでしょうが、療養所と三市城塞の間でどのような確執があろうと、今国際保安官の目の前に明示されているのはたった2つのことです。一つは僕たち2人がここで襲われたこと、もう一つは療養所の患者さんの私物がこの城塞の闇市で流れていること。いずれにしてもこの謀略に関わったあなたたちは重い代償を払うことになります。
私物だと。
For the first time, Mrs. Zhao's eyes betray a hint of bewilderment at the unexpected term. He looks back and forth at you two, gauging your expressions as if trying to confirm whether he had just misheard.
私物って何のことだ。あの薬を探しに来たんじゃないのか。
It seems you have quite a misunderstanding about us. Although Vyn was investigating the medications, you both outwardly appeared to be searching for Cecily's gift instead. The residents directly related you to the medication incident, which only proves that they must have been involved in it. We did initially come here looking for a personal item, and it's also true that a large quantity of medication was stolen from the sanatorium. But after hearing what you said, I think I finally know the whereabouts of those missing medications.
何が言いたい。まさか俺たちが療養所から薬品を盗んだとでも。
The underlying message in your words is that the fortress has something to do with the stolen medications, which makes Mrs. Zhao feel uneasy.
そんなことは言ってません。ただこの薬品の盗難事件は城塞で起きた集団死亡事件と関連しているようですね。そしてあなたたちの抱えた療養所の恨みにはどうも誤解が多いように感じます。
何よ、すべてお前たちがやったことだろう。誤解なんてあるものか。
最大の誤解は僕たちを療養所の関係者だと思っていることです。違いますか？
Vyn takes out the certificate he prepared in advance, Although it's not his real psychiatrist certificate, it shows that he served as OG's private doctor. You take out your attorney certificate as well, without even having to show the inside pages, just the cover alone renders Mr. Zhao speechless.
まさか療養所の関係者じゃないとは。前にお前が療養所から出てくるのを見たのに。
We were only at the sanatorium for investigation. It was just a misunderstanding because you didn't take the time to double check before acting on it. Besides, if this misunderstanding continues, things will only get worse.
彼女の言う通りです。
After putting away his certificate, Vyn doesn't immediately return to his spot. Instead, he helps Mrs. Zhao to his feet. Mrs. Zhao looks a bit dejected, and Vyn speaks with sincere earnestness.
幸い、今なら全てを正すチャンスがあります。この夜の動きからして、本来はより大きな計画を企てているのではありませんか？もし誤解から大きな過ちを犯してしまっているなら、ご家族や他に亡くなった親族の方々のために、二度と死者を祀ることができなくなってしまいますよ。今知っていることを全部教えてくだされば、できる限り協力いたします。
After a long silence, Mrs. Zhao finally lowers his head. He laughs at himself before finally speaking to you.
もういい。こうなった以上は話すとしよう。どうせ過ぎた話だ。
Top floor empty room. Maybe it's because Vyn had successfully convinced him, or perhaps he started doubting his own choices. But Mrs. Zhao shares with you everything about the fortress past, from when residents first arrived on the island to establishing the fortress and to the struggle due to a lack of supplies. And because of this, you finally get all the big pieces of the puzzle. So, most of the residents in this fortress are illegal immigrants?
そうだ。ここに万能薬があると噂されれば、誰だって試してみたくなるだろう。
After being untied, Mrs. Zhao's gaze towards you doesn't turn any friendlier, but he no longer shows any hostility either. He rubs his wrists, which have gotten all red from the ropes. He seems a lot older than he is when he starts recounting his
と
past
ころが、
experiences.
ここにある療養所は貴族や金持ちだけを受け入れ、新翼会は島の出身者だけを守る始末だ。だから、あなたたち密航者はこうして城塞に住み着くしかなかったのですね。
俺たちには金も力もないからな。飯も満足に食えないし、命を守るための薬さえ手に入らない。病気を治すためにここに来たのに。
As if missing his deceased mother and daughter, Mr. Zhao lifts his face and growls, his voice carrying a faint sob. They must have been desperate for medicine, making them vulnerable to exploitations.
数年前、療養所を退職したという男が貴重な薬をたくさん持ってここにやってきた。当時使っていた密航ルートを使い、より多くの薬を島から送って薬品を独占する広大に対抗するのを手伝えば、その薬を安く売ってくれるとそいつは約束した。
So, you agreed to help him with the deliveries because you urgently needed the medicine at the time?
どれだけの薬を送りましたか？
ここ数年で全部で30箱ぐらいだろうか。
Upon hearing this, Vyn immediately takes out his phone and pulls up the previously cached list of medications. You move closer to look at his phone with him. The total quantity of medicines is exactly 30 boxes. Wait, exactly 30 boxes? You helped him transport 30 boxes out, but what about yourselves? Did you not keep any for your own use?
もちろん残したさ。だが、あの薬を使ったせいで、母さんも娘も、他の親族たちも、みんな。
How?
おそらく城塞の住民たちが使った薬は偽物だろうね。
Vyn scrolls through the screen, repeatedly checking the list of medications. However, as you gradually uncover the undeniable truth, he scrolled the screen even faster with a hint of irritation.
もし運び出した薬品が30箱程度だというなら、あなたたちに薬を渡す余裕はなかったはずです。紛失リストと数が合わなくなりますから。おそらく彼は偽薬を使って城塞の信頼を得て、それから本物の薬を当該に送るために協力させたんでしょう。
そんなわけあるか。あいつだって療養所に騙されたって言ってたんだぞ。妻と子供が当該でその薬を使って死んで、一晩で髪が真っ白になったって。あいつは俺たちよりもずっと療養所を恨んでいたはずだ。
つまり今回の療養所への復讐はその人がきっかけだったと？
それは。
Judging from Mrs. Zhou's expression, Vyn's guess is right. Instead of pressing for answers, Vyn pulls up a photo of the staff name board from the sanatorium on his phone and hands it to him.
この中にあなたたちと取引して退職したスタッフはいますか？
Mrs. Zhao trembles as he moves closer, and despite his hesitation, he checks them over one by one. Finally, his gaze falls on a blonde maintenance worker.
こいつだ。だが髪の色が。
きっと髪を染めたんでしょう。何よりこのコウルというスタッフはまだ在職中です。少なくとも僕が2日前にこの名簿を撮影した時点にはまだいたわけですね。
そんな。あいつが俺たちをこんな目に。
Mrs. Zhao collapsed to the ground, running his fingers through his graying hair in disbelief and anguish. He doesn't cry or wail. He merely utters each word slowly and hoarsely, revealing years of suppressed guilt and regret.
あの集団墓地には偽薬で亡くなった住民たちが埋められているんだ。母さんも娘もその中に。あの薬の件があってから仕方なく総裁に関わる仕事を始めたんだ。なぜだ。一体何のために。
Mrs. Zhou's despair and grief makes you clench your fist almost subconsciously. That man, Gore, he didn't just use these residents for money, he completely ruined their lives. The worst part is that he's instigating them to seek revenge against the sanatorium to cover up his own wrongdoings.
ああ、金儲けのためなら肉親さえ簡単に死なせるような人にはもはや人間性を求めるだけ無駄だろうね。
After saving screenshots of the key evidence, Vyn carefully picks up the memorial text you had casually read through earlier, solemnly gathering them together. Who would have thought that the truth behind everything would be revealed in such a way? Whether it is Campbell's gift or the stolen medications from the sanatorium, you've got a clear picture of everything that happened. However, neither you nor Vyn can accept an ending like this. I couldn't figure out why Gore would sell Campbell's valuable gift at Soundsea Fortress black market. No one here could possibly afford such a high price. Actually, if it weren't for this gift, we probably wouldn't have noticed this place, let alone the evil deeds that have been going on here.
そうだね。千鳥さんが打ち明けてくれるまで薬を盗んだ容疑は城塞の住民たちに向けられていたのだから。 今シンジカ島の大半の港は国際保安官が警備している。コールが逃げるならこの知られざる港が最も安全だろう。彼の本当の目的は城塞と療養所の対立を煽ることにあったんだ。
Vyn walks to the window, looking far off in the distance in the direction of the sanatorium. A night of pursuit and peril finally gives way to the lightening sky as dawn is about to break. Yet there remains a place hidden from the light, shrouded in a dark cloud. And if you fail to handle this properly, this dark cloud could continue to spread, affecting more souls than should be basking in the light of the sun.
城塞の住民たちが大きな過ちを犯した時、キャンベルさんの贈り物は薬品盗難の疑いを住民に向けさせる材料になる。その時、彼は住民たちが療養所へ向かう隙に港から逃げ出すだけではなく、自身の容疑を一時的に晴らすこともできるだろう。
He never saw the residents here as human beings.
その通り。だからこそ彼をやすやすと逃がすわけにはいかない。しかし、肝心なのはあなたたちが何をしようとしているのかです。
Vyn gently calls Ogier to come in, then he faces Mrs. Zhao seriously again.
前にも言いましたが、元の計画を続けるつもりでしたら、復讐を果たせないどころか、全てが取り返しのつかないことになりますよ。今真実を教えてくだされば、僕たちが全力で阻止することで挽回の余地もあるでしょう。
Yeah, if you are planning to act after the ceremony, then we only have a few hours left. After what seems like an intense internal struggle, Mrs. Zhao wipes the tears from his face and speaks with determination.
城塞では主宰様が俺たちにガソリンと以前魚取りに使っていた雷管を準備させている。主宰様は夜が明けたら遺体を運ぶ名目で療養所に持ち込んでから放火して爆発させるおつもりだったんだ。
そのガソリンと雷管は今どちらにありますか？
儀式をやっている中庭の斎場にあるはずだ。運搬していた時には俺はお前たちを探しに出ていたから。だから正確な場所はよくわからない。
構いません。十分です。
Vyn takes out his phone to check the time, then quickly turns to Ogier.
前に連絡した国際保安官はいつ到着するんだい？
あと15分ほどで到着するはずです。
But it's almost dawn, and they'll probably be setting out any minute now. Time is one thing, but on the other hand, the security officers are probably still unaware that the residents have explosives. And as things stand right now, you are unable to quickly relay this information to them due to the signal interference. You mentally picture everything that would happen when the officers get here and then realize there are some even trickier problems. Not to mention that the residents are now thinking and taking extreme measures without a care for their own lives. I'm worried they might try to go down with the officers before we find those dangerous items.
そういうことでしたら、千鳥さんにもう一度状況を探りに行っていただくのはいかがでしょ
難しいだろうね。僕たちを探すためにかなり時間を空けてしまったから。そんな状態で探りを入れたとしても信じてもらえるとは思えない。それなら。
Vyn pockets his phone and looks at you seriously.
彼が僕を捕まえたことにして斎場まで連れて行ってもらおう。そうすれば物資の場所を探せるはずだ。
Hearing that, you and Ogier immediately object.
う。坊ちゃん、あまりにも危険です。
Dr. Richter, I'm going with you.
弁護士さん。
Arjun looks at you in shock, but Vin seems to have expected that. There is a hint of a smile reflected in his eyes.
どうして
After all, when we were being chased earlier, everyone knew about both of us being there. If Mrs. Zhao only takes you there, they will still have their guard up. So, I think it's better not to make them suspicious. Let Mrs. Zhao take us down while Ojai goes up to meet the security officers. This way, they might believe that Mrs. Zhao caught us after a long chase. What do you think? We remain silent while Ojai still seems hesitant. Only Mrs. Zhao, after giving it some careful thought, nods in agreement.
それならできるだろう。みんな、お前たちに当たりはきついだろうが、俺が何とかする。そこのあんたが保安官を案内して危険物を確保すれば、後でみんなに事情は説明できるだろう。
What about you, Vyn?
わかった。そうするよ。
After careful consideration, Vyn seems to have something to say but refrains from doing so, ultimately just nodding his head. Puzzled, you move closer to ask him about it. Do you still have concerns?
いや、
He clears his throat and gives you a meaningful look.
これから先というのは、それほど遠くなるとは思っていなかったけれど。まずはこの事件を解決しないと。
Vyn seems to have more to say, but he doesn't appear to have any objections at this plan. But the clock's ticking, so you can't afford to ask any more questions. After some brief preparations, you all proceed according to plan, with Ogier going to meet up with the security officers. You and Vyn follow Mrs. Zhao downstairs to the courtyard where the ceremony is being held. Fortress Courtyard. Due to its geographical location, Zijiga Island has evergreen plants all year long. But Sanzi Fortress, located by the coast of the lower district, is an exception. Even the trees stand skeletal, its bare branches twisted in a brittle slant. The ceremonial site is equally desolate, where the residents are all glaring at you. Earlier, when that B&B owner came to block you, his dull and lifeless appearance made it feel eerie and strange. However, after hearing Mr. Zhao's account of the fortress past, you finally understand the current struggles of the residents, but it just makes you feel even sadder. As if sensing your worries, Vyn turns slightly towards you and offers comfort in a harsh whispers.
まだ間に合う。すべてを変えることはできるよ。
Yeah. Since the ceremony is still ongoing, the courtyard is extremely quiet. The residents are all standing solemnly in the open space in front of the altar with no one talking or whispering. Until the head priest in charge of offering incense and burning memorial papers turns around and Mrs. Zhao pushes you two forward.
連れてきたのか。
はい。こいつら本当に隠れるのがうまくて、一晩中追いかけてようやく捕まえました。
ご苦労だった。なかなか手強い二人のようだったな。
To make it look convincing, both you and Vyn have your hands bound behind your back with slip knots. Mrs. Zhao grabs onto the rope and shows no signs of hesitation, exactly as you had planned earlier. Seeing that the head priest doesn't seem suspicious, he pauses for a moment before stepping forward to ask.
その主宰様、これからどのようにすれば、以前のように裏道を使って仲間たちを療養所に連れて行ってもいいのでしょうか。それに装備はどこに隠したんですか。遅れてきてしまい、一度も見ておりません。
He glances across the courtyard as he speaks seriously. But the high priest doesn't respond, only saying there is no hurry. Then he pulls out a long stem pipe from his trouser pocket and expressionlessly taps it against his shoe. He is about to take a puff but suddenly seems to remember something and tucks the pipe back onto his sleeve, pacing back and forth in front of you.
お前たち、療養所がこの城塞に何をしたか知っているか？
少しは。
無駄に言い逃れしないとはな。思ったより男らしいやつだ。だがまあ、どのみち死ぬ運命だ。潔く認めた分、しばらく命を預けておいてやろう。
The high priest's footsteps come to a halt when he looks at you again. There was an indescribable look in his eyes, but it was not as disdainful or sinister as before. The high priest walks to an ornate armchair outside the altar. He sits down, crosses his legs, and jerks his chin toward the altar, gesturing for the both of you to go there.
さあ、甲をたけ。そしてひざまずけ。頭を地面に伏して、ちゃんと謝って懺悔するといい。それが終わったら、千鳥さん、彼らを送ってやれ。
主宰様、この者たちが心から謝ることはあるんでしょうか？何もそこまでせずとも早いところを出発された方が。
Mr. Zhao knows that you are just innocent outsiders, so he seems concerned that you might not be able to tolerate such humiliation.
焦るなと言っただろう。千鳥さん、お母さんも娘さんもこいつらに殺されたんだろ。頭を下げて謝るのを見たくないか？それとも一晩過ごしてお前はこいつらに肩入れするつもりになったのか？
めっそうもございません。
Noticing the high priest's gaze toward Mr. Zhao growing increasingly suspicious, Vyn walks up to them without saying much, his expression remaining calm as he speaks softly.
少しでも長く生きられるのならありがたいことです。なぜなら真実が解明されるには時間がかかるでしょうから。
どういう意味だ？
いえ、こちらの話ですよ。それではお香を焚きましょうか。
Seeing Vyn's gentle smile, Mr. Zhao understands what he means. Without saying anything more, he walks over to untie you two. When Vyn picks up the incense to light it, you move to his side and hold up the candle for him. Let's do it together. In the low memorial shed, sheets of paper money are scattered around. The scene seems oppressive and bizarre, but you and Vyn stand together, neither of you showing any fear. Vyn lights the incense using your candle's flame while whispering to you in a lively tune.
僕は一人でもやれるよ。こうした儀式はあまり精神的に負担にならないからね。
This isn't about psychological burden. The truth must be revealed before any accountability or punishment.
だけど、この城塞の住民たちにとっては、生きる意味を再び見つけることが真実よりも優先されている。そうだね。
Yes, it is now time for the final battle. As Vyn lights the incense in his hand, you move the candle away and begin to recite the memorial text. On February 12th of 2029, the relatives of Sanzi Fortress, though born in different years, meet their end in the same month.
この祭祀は死した同胞の無念を伝えるためにある。
At 3 o'clock, no suspicious supplies in sight.
11時の方向にもない。
As per the earlier action plan, you need to take this opportunity to look for suspicious items in the courtyard. You've checked each spot where Mr. Zhao had predicted the items were stored, but come up empty.
どうやら主催は周到に隠したようだね。
But they're about to leave. Shouldn't the supplies be placed somewhere more secure and accessible? Time is running out and cold sweat begins trickling down your back. If you delay any longer, you'll be in extreme danger regardless of whether you find those supplies or not. We're running out of time.
そう焦らないで。考えを巡らせて他の場所も探そう。あなたをこの計画に参加させたことは最も賢明な選択だったと思っているから。どんな状況でも僕は全力で守るし、あなたの判断を信じているよ。だから落ち着いて。もう一度確認しよ
お前たち、何をこそこそ話しているんだ。
The head priest interrupts you, so you stop talking, but then Vyn gently nudges your arm with his elbow. He points in a direction with his incense stick. Following it, you spot a massive stockpile of supplies covered with a tarp about 10 meters to the left of the courtyard. You two exchange a glance and then simultaneously look toward a rooftop that is visible behind the altar. Ogier is already waiting there, ready to act as soon as you give the signal.
う。今だ。
Vyn speaks softly and points the incense stick toward where the supplies are located before extinguishing its burning tip. Extinguishing incense tips before the altar can be considered the most disrespectful act. But before the angry residents can rush forward, the security officers standing at the higher ground have already raised their guns to quell the commotion.
警察だ！あの人たちが警察を呼んだの！
物資は早く爆破させろ。くそー、誰も生きて帰らせるんじゃないぞ。
In the chaos, several residents launched toward the pile of tarp-covered supplies. Fortunately, thanks to Vyn's hint, the security officers are already aware of the location of the supplies, and those residents are pinned down before they can reach the tarp.
動くな。手を後ろに抱えて膝をつけ。
The front gate of the fortress suddenly shakes with a loud bang as two more teams of security officers burst in. The clamor of the crowd gradually fades, but the head priest, sitting under the shed, stands up in shock. He raises his trembling hand in fury, pointing at you and Vyn in turn, before finally stopping at Mr. Zhao.
千鳥さん、お前か。母親と娘まで裏切ったのか。
秀才様、俺たちは騙されたんです。あのコールってやつが本当の悪党だったんですよ。何年も騙されてたなんて、俺たちは本当に愚かでした。だからもう過ちを繰り返すわけにはいきません。
ふざけるな。お前たちもだ。
The head priest looks at you with a twisted expression, his mind utterly consumed by venom and hatred. Instinctively pulling you behind him, Vyn coldly stares at the head priest.
もういいでしょう。その件は療養所とは無関係で、僕たちは療養所の人間ではありません。今住民のほとんどは拘束され、あなた方の物資も保安官によって抑えられています。すべてを正直に保安官に伝えれば、まだ退路はあるはずですよ。
退路だと。今さらどこに逃げる。俺の妻と子が、俺の孫たちが、ここの住民たちが死んだ時に誰も俺たちの命なんか気にかけてなかったじゃないか。
But Gore is the guilty one, and he will be punished. Don't throw your lives away for his mistakes.
黙れ！
The head priest has completely lost his previous composure and cunning. He is an old man who has gone grey with worry for everyone and is so overwhelmed by the truth that he can hardly breathe. He is also like a kid who has been bullied but has nowhere to turn for help. He is panting heavily, looking at you with both desperation and ferocity. For those brief seconds, he remains silent, but Ogier and the security officers rush toward the shed.
坊ちゃん弁護士さん
来るな
Just before Ogier arrives, the head priest suddenly hunches his back and smiles weirdly. Then he reaches into his sleeve and pulls out the long standpipe from before. Unexpectedly, he takes out a detonator from it, throwing it towards you.
今日は城塞の祭日だ。お前たちは死んだ住民たちと共に埋められるがいい。
What?
こっちだ
Before you can react, Vyn grabs your arm and leads you back to the altar. Then, with a bang, he overturns the huge altar. Incense burners, memorial tablets, candles, and offerings are scattered everywhere, but this chaos only lasts for less than half a second. Vyn holds you tightly in his arms, pressing your head against his chest. In an instant, you hear a deafening boom erupt from behind the altar. The shock wave seems powerful enough to shatter the temple and enough that you can feel the vibration in your organs. The massive air current pushes you back a few inches and the altar's ceiling cracks open, showering plastic fragments and dust all over you.
大丈夫かい
Due to the ringing in your ears from the explosion, you can't hear him clearly, but you can read his lips. I'm fine, it's just the dust. I got something in my throat. Your words are cut short by Vyn's embrace, filled with fear and concern as if he has just survived a catastrophe. At that moment, you can no longer hear or just inches shouting or the bustle of the officers' movements while they arrest Mrs. Zhao and the head priest. All you can hear is Vyn's guilt-ridden yet deeply relieved murmuring.
あなたが無事で本当によかった
Shortly after the explosion, with Gore's failed escape attempt at the port and his subsequent arrest, the Sanxi Fortress incident temporarily came to an end. The residents were the ones who suffered the most, yet in the end, we all ended up hurting each other. Ouch.
もう少し我慢してすぐ終わるから
Although Vyn tried to protect you during that explosion, you were not entirely unscathed. Your hands have gotten quite scraped up from the impact of the ground. Now Vyn is disinfecting your wounds while discussing the case with you.
先ほどまでの話を聞いているとコールだけが捕まるべきだと思っているのかな
No, that's not what I meant at all. What I meant was, just like you said before, when you make choices, you usually face your objective head on and choose the most direct approach.
確かにそう言ったね
But these residents were doing the complete opposite of that. Drawing back your bandaged hand, you gently touch the wounds while looking toward the residents being interrogated and arrested by the security officers. Consumed by hatred, they completely abandon their rationality, making the worst and most misguided choices at every turn. In that case, even if we trace it back to the sanatorium's initial mistakes, it still doesn't excuse their actions, does it?
あなたの言う通りだろうね憎しみは人の目を曇らせて最も間違った選択に導くそうした泥沼から抜け出すには憎むことをやめるのではなく魂と思考をその渦潮に飲まれないようにすることが大切なんだただこの世界に完全な理性を保って正しく選択できる人がどれだけいるだろうね
Dr. Richter? After putting the bandages and disinfectant back into the Worried medical kid, Vyn lowers his head to tidy them up, continuing to converse with his head down. You want to see his gaze to understand his emotions, but after the explosion, some loose strands of hair have fallen over his forehead, hiding his eyes from view. Suddenly, you are overtaken by an impulse. You reach out to remove his glasses, then brush away the loose strands of hair from his eyes, which are wide with astonishment.
何を
I'm helping you fix your hair. After all, you've treated my wounds twice in such a short time. It's just a small token of gratitude. Vyn clearly doesn't believe you, but he doesn't mind and still looks at you all the same. At this close distance, you can clearly feel the warmth of each other's breath, but you wonder if he can hear your suddenly racing heartbeat too. You decide to clear your throat before you lose yourself in his gentle gaze. Notorious, do you think all the choices we made today were right or wrong?
僕たちかい
His gaze shifts for a moment before immediately returning to you. He locks eyes with you with a smile.
まだアクセサリーを取り戻していないし、目標を達成したとは言えないから、どうだろうね。
Huh? Seeing the way he tries to change the subject as if avoiding the question make you immediately want to protest. But before you can speak, Vyn gently holds your hand as if pouring out the words he'd held back for ages.
だけど、それでも、ありがとう。この危険な夜の間、僕を見捨てなかったこと。もしあなたが一度でも諦めていたら、きっと二人とも無事に帰れなかっただろ
Isn't that only natural? Vyn doesn't give you a clear response, but you decide to let it go for now. Just wait a little longer. Let's go help Cecily find her gift first. That way we can achieve a perfect ending.
う。行こうか。
Picking up the medical kit, you and Vyn stand up together and walk towards the direction of the rising sun. After all, the days ahead can be far away, but also very close. But perhaps after the next choice, you'll be able to reach that objective. Together again, you two walk towards a newer and farther path as the morning sun rises.
僕の声は聞こえるかい？この辺りは電波が弱いから、もし繋がらなかったらって心配したよ。うん。あなたも知っての通り、3C 城西の件から電波障害に過敏でね。どうしても、あの夜と同じことが起こるんじゃないかと不安で。何があっても、あなたには二度とあんな目に遭ってほしくないから。慰めてくれてありがとう。元気でいるなら安心するよ。うん。話を変えようか。実は別件で伝えたいことがあってね。意見を聞きたい。この間見つけた成人の儀式の贈り物を覚えているかい？セシリアが受け取ったよ。あなたたちに直接お礼を伝えたいって。それから、儀式の進行役をお願いしたいと。うん。僕たち一緒に。キャンベルさんが亡くなって、他に儀式を仕切れる人はいないから。前も言ったけど、今二人並んで進行役を務めるのは少し奇妙かもしれない。でも、あなたが良ければ、僕たちで二人旅を計画しないかい？本当は危ない目にあったから、この機会に羽を伸ばしたいと思ってね。彼女の成人の儀式は、きっと眺めのいい場所で行われるはず。あなたと一緒なら、僕も楽しみなんだ。 誰かが呼んでいるようだ。ごめんね。そろそろ行かないと。答えが決まったら連絡してほしい。待っているよ。